Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to SHAN. I do not have the actual written mission in front of us, but the mission of SHAN is to educate and advocate for our seniors here in the South Florida area. We were first formed just about 10 years ago now, I believe, if I'm correct, in the South Palm Beach area so that we could go ahead and meet that accomplishment. What we've done is provide an opportunity for everybody to not only network, which we just done for the last hour, a strong educational portion where we'll have a speaker today that will educate us in regards to things that are important to our senior community, and then advocate for our seniors here in the area. And as we talked about last month, scleroderma, working with Fern Robinson was one of our great achievements very, very early on. Thank you so much for joining us at SHAN this morning. I look forward to meeting all of you.
Great, thank you, John. And I'd like to thank Jennifer and everybody over at the Boca Raton Chamber for your continued support. Normally, I would thank our host, and I would thank because they usually would serve us breakfast, but I'm so sorry, breakfast is on your own. So if you have to see the personal chef if you want to complain and you don't like the food.
Thanks, Barb. I really appreciate it. And I don't know if Casey's on. I didn't see her from Memorial Health, but just to remind everybody that Memorial Health works with us and SHAN and sponsors this program. So we're really, really grateful to them. They, you know, anybody who's familiar with them knows how involved they are in the larger community and all the amazing things that they're doing at Memorial and at Jody, and it's just incredible. You know, I'd love to get there because if you've never been there just to tour, not as a patient, it's really an unbelievable place. So I didn't see Casey on, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned Memorial.
I'm really, really pleased today to tell you that Trustbridge is our presenter. We're going to be talking about reducing stress, and wow, is that a hot topic right now. I couldn't be more ecstatic to introduce you to Phillip Smith. He's been with Trustbridge over like about 1.5 years now. He's part of our education team. He's a nurse. He's amazing. I'm so proud to call him my colleague. He's a registered nurse and hospice educator with Trustbridge. His clinical background includes emergency room telemetry, med-surg, trauma, orthopedic, and neurological nursing with a specialty in stroke care. He currently serves as the provider for CEU education for healthcare professionals and community members in Palm Beach County. And with that, I will turn it over to Phillip. We want you to ask questions, anything we can do to be more of assistance for you related to Trustbridge. And if you want to say anything great about me, please feel free to put it in the chat because Karen is my immediate director. So, you know, short little plug for me. I'm kidding.
Wow. So what an introduction. Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. I'll pay you later. And, you know, as far as, it's interesting that, that Barbara mentioned that Karen's on, but my boss is also on as well. So we now have come full circle with this. So if anything, talking about reducing stress, I might need to be talking to myself right now. You know, it's interesting over the course of the last, I mean, good grief, it feels like it's been 5 years since we've been dealing with COVID. You know, I was hearing somebody earlier when I jumped on that it's been going quickly, but also very, very slowly. And so I think we are, you know, in a place where we are kind of crawling at snail pace to get through this year, but also can't wait to wrap up. And one of the things that makes it very interesting is that we've had to really stretch ourselves, get really creative, find new ways to overcome obstacles. And we've encountered a lot of new challenges over the past, I don't know, 8 or 9 months during this COVID season. And it's really been setting some markers throughout all of our lives in the way that we handle things. You know, in talking of things like reducing stress, we have to understand one fundamental truth about stress. Stress is not actually a bad thing, right? You know, you don't have to show hands, but you can nod if you'd like. But anybody who works out, goes to the gym or does any sort of strength training, you understand that without any sort of stretching or any sort of tension on those muscles, there's really not as much of an opportunity for growth and development. And so we really rely on those moments where our patience is tested or where conflict has kind of met us where we are in order for us to be stretched and have moments where we could overcome obstacles and grow from those encounters. And so, stress really is an unavoidable consequence of life. But again, not all stress is necessarily bad. So again, learning and growing from stress is going to be critical and really is going to give us the encouragement and the confidence that we need to get through some of these difficult times. But really, it's about taking good care of yourself, right? Because we all are in the business of caring for other people, whether it's in our professional lives or at home. But we also have to understand that we aren't as good for those that we care for unless we are good for ourselves. And we have to really get our minds around sometimes that, taking those moments where we pour into ourselves when we are kind of running on empty, so to speak, is going to give us those moments of refreshment and recharging our batteries that we need to have in order to continue on with our day-to-day responsibilities. You think about your life as a gas tank, right? You drive your car, you're aware of how much gas you have in your tank, and then sometimes your dash light will alert you as to when you're running low or when you need to fill your tank. And you know that once that tank is empty, it no longer runs, right? Not only does it no longer run, but you run the risk of doing some damage to your engine if you were to run out of gas. And so very similarly, we are kind of wired the same way with our factory settings. We can only handle so much without being poured back into. And really, this is an opportunity for us to take a few moments and just kind of glean from some best practices and ways that we can really give back to ourselves so that we can pour back out to others. And really, it's an opportunity for us to not only just fill ourselves so that we have the energy that we need and the rest that we need, but also so that we can give out of the overflow that we have for other people. And I couldn't think of a better time than now to introduce this topic, considering that we are in the midst of not only a pandemic and lots of different tensions that exist societally, but also we are looking at the holidays that are upcoming. I mean, as early as next week, if you can believe it. And, we're going headlong into what is normally during a normal time can be potentially stressful. And then adding that onto everything else that we have already gone through as individuals. So it could be quite difficult. So I wanted to just kind of talk about a few ways that we can change habits to take care of ourselves, ultimately to reduce stress. Engaging in self-nurturing habits and attitudes as a safeguard against physical and emotional toll of prolonged stress is going to be critical to giving us the impact that we need on those that we serve within our communities and, of course, at home. So effective stress management really begins with lifestyle changes. And again, introducing some simple stress relieving tips into our lives can really give us the opportunity to enjoy things like peace, health, and happiness. And so the first thing that we can do is really take a look at what it means to be fully relaxed. I'll never forget one time I was in a Target a few years ago, and there was a little girl that was just kind of playing with some of the toys and just kind of off doing her own thing. And I guess the mom really was irked by the fact that her daughter was kind of in the traffic area where all the people are walking through the aisles. And, the daughter just kind of gave her a funny look, and she just yells at her, "Relax, relax." And I'm thinking, how is that child supposed to relax when someone is yelling at them? So very often we do a lot of self-talk, right? But sometimes what we say to ourselves is not giving us the same message that we actually need to hear from ourselves. Sometimes we are in the midst of conflict or in the midst of tension, and we are screaming at ourselves to relax and yelling at ourselves to just take a break. And yet we can't do that because we haven't really set the tone to do that. So one of the best ways that we can relax is to simply breathe. And I know that sounds ridiculous, right? Because we do this involuntarily, but When you breathe properly, it is one of the simplest ways to relieve stress. It's not only gives you an opportunity to slow your heart rate, but it also gives you a chance to slow your mind and give your brain a chance to kind of slow down and relax, and also kind of melts away some of the stress that may be going on in areas that carry a lot of tension, areas like the back and the neck and even the hands. And by breathing slowly, you can inhale slowly through your nose, and you can take in a deep breath, allow your lungs to fill up with air, and you just actually can concentrate on your breaths. And when you exhale slowly, you can exhale through pursed lips. Pursed lips is really just kind of like almost having a whistling-like effect, where you are slowly releasing that oxygen, or I'm sorry, the carbon dioxide, and your breaths are allowing your body to absorb more of that good oxygen that will not only get to your brain, but to your organs, and allow you to feel more relaxed and refreshed. When you pause at the end of each exhalation, you can take a few normal breaths so as to not have too many deep breaths. But you want to make sure that you're taking a handful of those deep breaths to give yourself a chance to just let that stress kind of melt away. Do about 2 to 3 times, and then maybe repeat to what you were doing. And if you find yourself taking on a little bit more, perhaps throughout the day, you can always have that as a reminder to just kind of take a deep breath. Of course, if you're in the car, make sure that you don't get too relaxed, or you might find yourself on the wrong side of an accident report. But you want to ensure that you are in a place where there's some quiet. Give yourself a chance to try to, have a little bit of silence, and even an environment that is free of distractions will give you a better opportunity to find that momentary relaxation. It's also important that we not only breathe to stretch our lungs, but we need to stretch our muscles. Again, I mentioned earlier that our bodies carry a lot of tension. They carry a lot of stress within them. And unless we get a chance to kind of stretch those muscles, get blood flowing, we may do more harm than good. Stretching is not only good for your mobility and flexibility, but it is also good for things if you're at a desk job, if you're in a position where you're doing lots of prolonged sitting, or lots of driving, you will find yourself getting really tense, or your muscles will just stay in one position for a long time. You also are going to be helping your circulation out, and you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're dealing with things like blood clots. So, having a chance to stretch, you can do it from a sitting position, even within your office, or sitting at your desk, or even just for a short break if you're having a chance to get away. If you're working remotely, you have a little bit of additional room and space to kind of take some stretch breaks. But one of the great stretches that you can do is really twist at the trunk. A lot of your muscles that, like I said, carry some of that conflict and tension are going to be in your shoulders, in your neck, and even in your back. And so having an opportunity to kind of sit in one spot and stretch and twist, and giving yourself an opportunity, it's hard to do this we have these short little windows, but giving yourself the ability to stretch and twist will, again, not only give you additional flexibility and mobility, but also will give you a greater sense of not only relaxation, but again, will give you a better circulation and blood flow. Same is true for your legs. When sitting at a desk for a long period of time, your body really needs to get the blood moving, maybe go for a walk, but stretching also while at your desk is helpful. We have these desks at Trustbridge, which actually have pedals on them, and you can pedal while working at the same time, which is great because it increases blood flow and circulation back to the heart. Those are fun, although I find myself trying to beat a personal best. So I might be breaking out into a full sweat while working, so maybe not be for those that are ultra competitive. However, I will say that just having just an opportunity to do some simple leg lifts, where you pull your leg up parallel with the ground and point your toes and bring them back to your body, and do that a few times. Doing some pumps with each side will give you a nice relaxing stretch through your leg, but also will get that blood from areas in the, the lower extremities back to the heart. Again, preventing things like blood clots. The other things that is really great about relaxation is the art of meditation. This has been practiced for thousands of years, and it's a way of finding inner peace, enlightenment, and harmony. Meditation helps with not only relaxing the mind and the body, but also helps you turn off some of those inner thoughts that can be racing through your mind, going through things like to-do lists, processing news and different things that have kind of bombarding your system and overstimulating your brain. So it's a chance for us to just kind of get away for a moment, get quiet, and really kind of shut things down for a little bit, which, has a place where you can, get quiet, maybe undisturbed, very few distractions. When you're working remotely, you may find yourself in a place where you can be alone, or maybe get into your room, or if you're like me and your home is more distracting, maybe you have an opportunity to kind of close the door, shut the blinds, and all that kind of stuff in the office if you have the ability to, or even in your car. I would recommend, if you're going to be in there for any length of time, make sure the car is on with air conditioning. Otherwise, you'll be doing hot yoga in your car unintentionally. But making sure that you're in a comfortable body position. Nothing says I can't relax more than being in an uncomfortable position. Something where you might feel comfortable for minutes at a time. Maintaining your focus and adapt an accepting, passive attitude. You can also incorporate your deep breathing with that and use it as an opportunity to count your breaths, which when you count your breaths, you actually trick your brain into turning off a lot of those negative thoughts that have kind of been flooding your brain. So when you close your eyes and you deep breathe and you scan your body for tension, you are actually allowing your body to let go of any of that tension that you locate within your body. And as you breathe in a more relaxed way, you can imagine kind of a balloon underneath your belly button, just kind of filling up, where you're imagining that as you breathe in, it's inflating, and as you breathe out, the balloon is slowly deflating. And that guided imagery, again, will also kind of trick your mind into eliminating some of those negative thoughts that kind of bombard us on a regular basis. And as you focus on your breathing, it now really becomes the object of your focus. And when you count your breaths, you can count to as many as you need to feel, to kind of feel that relaxed state. And also, if you have a guided image where you are reminding yourself of a place that you could be, if you could be anywhere, where would you be? Think of the different senses that you would experience. So if the beach is where you want to go, could you imagine the sand in your toes, the sound of the waves breaking on the shore, maybe the sound of the seagulls or the warmth of the sun against your skin, maybe even the smell of the ocean breeze. And so those are the things that you can kind of concentrate on in addition to counting your breaths. And hopefully you won't find yourself asleep for too long if you do fall asleep, but sometimes those are ways that I can kind of personally get myself to a point where I can shut the world out for a moment, kind of reset, recalibrate, give myself the energy I need, but also give myself the ability to refocus so I can get back out there and do what I need to do. As we are approaching Thanksgiving, I find it almost hysterical that we are going to now talk about eating healthy foods. So as we will probably be turning our knife and forks over many, many times on Thursday, we need to discuss a couple of things. One, we can give ourselves permission to indulge every once in a while, as long as it doesn't become a daily habit. Very close friends of mine have talked to me about how they've gained the Quarren 10 or the Quarren 15. And so even I found myself at a point where I was thinking, gosh, clothes aren't fitting the same way that they did before March happened. And so I had to kind of reevaluate my dietary habits. And of course, working remotely, while convenient at the time, was also really difficult because the kitchen was right within my workspace. And so anytime I got a few moments of either downtime or there was things that just kind of started to kind of get to me, I found myself going and reaching for just whatever was available in that moment. And it wasn't until my son says, "Hey, Dad, you're always telling me to eat healthy. What's going on with you?" So it was an opportunity for me to have to swallow my pride a little bit and, again, reevaluate my eating choices. We want to make sure that, that we understand that food is actually very closely related to how we operate with regards to stress. The stuff that you put into your body will often be reflected in the way that you are acting, the way that you have, the way that you behave, and the energy that you have throughout the day. It's been said, if you put garbage in, garbage will likely be the result on the outside. And so we want to make sure that we are eating the right foods. Getting plenty of things like potassium. Potassium is actually a mineral that helps relax muscles. Good sources of potassium are found in places, things like milk, whole grains. Of course, bananas is probably the #1 thing that people can link to potassium, but also nuts and wheat germ, and as well as avocados. Protein is extremely important, not just for muscle building and energy, but it's also great for brain health. We need glucose for energy, but protein is really great for things like thinking critically and making decisions. And so foods that are high in protein not only enhance mental functioning, but they can help repair damage to your body's cells. So eating more lean meats or fish, or even finding proteins in places like beans, whether it's soy or even like tofu, are going to be that we can get additional protein into our bodies. Making sure that vegetables and inviting the entire rainbow onto your plate. Nothing for me is more sad than when I look at my plate on Thanksgiving and I see macaroni, I see potatoes, I see stuffing, and then I'm eating rolls, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm having an entire plate full of starch. So, inviting more color onto the plate will give you additional vitamins and nutrients and can also compound the negative effects of stress. Reducing refined, simple carbohydrates, things like sweets and treats, white sugars, white breads, white rices, things like that. They can oftentimes give you a short burst of energy, but actually leave you feeling more sluggish, maybe 30 minutes to an hour afterwards. And then replacing those refined simple carbohydrates with unrefined complex carbohydrates, such as whole grains, brown rice, again, many vegetables, and a whole list of fruits. They can enhance your performance. One of the last things I will talk about, and we will probably experience this shortly after the Thanksgiving meal, is the quality sleep that we get, right? We'll be finding ourselves on the couch, perhaps passed out in front of a football game, or at least that will be me. So sleep is really a challenge in our lives. We are so connected to devices and finding ourselves in a place we are constantly bombarded with images, and it's hard to kind of shut down for the day. Making sure that we aren't burning the candle at both ends is extremely important, not only giving you the energy that you need, but recalibrating focus in your life. Sleep cycles can be, when they get messed with, they can be really hard to break out of. For example, some of your habits that I've seen, especially with those that are very connected to devices, are watching TV or having screen time right before bed, trying to do things on their to-do list right before bed, not giving themselves their body the proper time to unwind prior to going to sleep. It's important that we are looking at keeping the sleep time sacred and regular, getting into a rhythm. We schedule a lot of things throughout our day, but how often are we actually scheduling rest? Rest is often a challenge for us because we're so used to being on the go that if we aren't actually putting it in our calendar, you can't see it, but this is my calendar. Yes, I'm still analog. I do have everything on the phone as well, but I'm kind of an old soul and have to write everything down. I don't have anything scheduled after 8 p.m. The reason why is I need to make sure that I'm in a place where I can feel relaxed. So by the time I do go to bed, I'm not tossing and turning for an hour and a half. So I give myself the ability to do that so I can get a full 7 to 8 hours so that I feel refreshed and I feel energized when my feet hit the floor in the morning. Again, by giving myself the ability to do this 2 hours before bedtime, I don't have things like the TV, the computer, the phone occupying my time. Occasionally I'll take a phone call, but screen time is really what is going to create more stimulation prior to bedtime, which could actually keep you up and awake longer. Making sure that your temperature in your room is great. My gosh, I don't know about you, but I'm wearing a sweater today because I can. And the breeze that I felt this morning was great. And so it reminded me of fall. And so it's, just making sure that you have the room at the right temperature so that you can have maximum comfort. Having a dark, quiet environment when at all possible. I know it sounds ridiculous, but even alerts that are on your phone that can create little beeping noises or lights that flash on your phones can oftentimes be sources of distraction, even if you don't even recognize it. So ensuring that you have as much darkness and as much silence as possible could also give you a leg up when it comes to getting the rest that you need. Try not to eat anything heavy or have any large amounts of liquids before bed so that you don't have interrupted sleep by frequent bathroom breaks or interrupted with things like indigestion. Also, making sure that you understand that if you haven't fallen asleep within like 30 minutes, give yourself a chance to just kind of reset. Get up, walk around, maybe, re-enter the room, after a few minutes, and then give yourself a chance to relax. Don't try to fight yourself to relax. Again, don't be that lady at the Target that was screaming at her child to relax. Let it happen naturally. Sometimes people use things like essential oils to kind of also use aromatherapy to achieve relaxation. Having a really comfortable mattress or ensuring that you're in a proper position, whether it's enough pillows or not having too many pillows. But again, making sure that you keep sleep that sacred time. And the last thing I will say is this. Did you know that you can smile and that can not only improve your health, but it also can improve overcoming stress? Research has found that you can even act as if you're smiling and you can actually change your attitude. I used to do it with my kids all the time when they were little. I would say, okay, I know you're upset, but I really miss that smile. Give me a smile. And they would smile, they'd fake it, and then I'd start laughing, and then they'd start laughing. And before you know it, we were all laughing together. And we almost forgot about what it was that we were arguing about to begin with. And so arranging your face in a smile, you are likely to become that emotion. The physical results of smiling actually are reduced stress, reduced pain, an increased relaxation response, and increased endorphins and dopamine, which not only are the feel-good chemicals that are in your body, but they also numb different levels of pain and increase happiness. So you cannot entirely eradicate stress. Look, we understand that this world is full of all different kinds of aggravating things, and our buttons are pushed constantly. But we do have the ability to control what happens within ourselves. We may not be able to control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. Making changes in small ways that can really reflect healthy habits and really kind of reverse course with some of the ways that we used to handle stress can make big strides in the way that we live our lives. And so remember, again, if you learn nothing else from today, we have got to find ways to not only reduce stress for the good of ourselves, but for the good of those that we serve, because very often the things that we take in are going to be reflected by the way that we respond. And so I thank you so much for just giving me a few moments to just kind of discuss some stress relieving topics with you. And again, if you need anything at all in terms of hospice care, we at Trustbridge are delighted and privileged and honored to serve both Palm Beach and Broward counties. If you have any questions with referrals, we can put our number in the chat. And we are just very honored to be able to work with each and every one of you. And thank you for giving me this time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Phillip. Does anybody have any questions or comments or things that they want to share with the group that they've shown or has helped them relieve some stress? I know he's given us a lot of really, really good food for thought.
Barbara, I wanted to share, and Philip, you mentioned that I was gifted a stationary bicycle. I won't mention the brand, but I'm sure everyone knows what it is. And I'm telling you, it has changed my attitude. Sometimes I may have some anxiety, especially on Sunday nights because I'm getting ready for work on Monday. My tone in my voice, it has been incredible. During the ride, the trainer will say positive affirmations like, you can do it, you're a rock star. And I'm like, yes, I am, yes, I am. It is incredible. And it is in conjunction with music. And I love music. So as I'm going through some of those hills, I'm singing, and I only do 15 minutes, not 30 minutes, not an hour or anything like that. And it has just significantly changed my life. So exercise and music is so important, and it gets some of that angst or frustration and, like I said, anxiety out of me. I recommend it to everybody.
I love my hobby too, Lisa.
Any other thoughts or comments, or you guys are quiet all of a sudden?
I actually do meditate every night, similar to, I forgot her name, I'm sorry, from Allegro, but I actually use the Silva method. You know, whether it be 15 to 35 minutes, depending on how many minutes I have, you know, with the different alpha brain waves, and then also the affirmations and, you know, visualization. I've had a lot of, 2020 was the craziest year I've had so far. It really helped me focus and get where I'm at mentally. I've got 3 children, you know, and some, I was furloughed this year. It was just a really crazy situation, but it's ending very well. And I've stayed very positive through it all. And I couldn't have done it without any of that meditation, and really taking care of myself. Because like Philip said, the freshman 10 or whatever you called it, that happens. It happened to me. So eating right is good. And, you know, you know, I think you did a great job, Philip, about sharing that. And I've gone through that transformation this year, actually.
Just to weigh in, I agree with those points, and just about taking that to really reflect. So I also appreciate, you know, the metaphor used about taking care of, you know, exercising being a form of stress that we grow from. And yes, so learning the different things to do to grow from this stressing environment. And oftentimes just doing those things, like I do lift weights and I do yoga and I do walk and do those things. And there is a lot of different aggressions and things that you can work through and work out through doing those things. Also, even just as simple as taking like a 10-minute walk after you have a meal is going to help clear your mind and also be really beneficial for your body. So I definitely appreciate all of those tips and techniques. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. And, you know, I was thinking too, one of the things that Philip mentioned, we're all on the go people. And I know the group, I know many of you, and I know you're all, like Philip and myself, somewhat competitive. And it's one of the things that I think that we all tend to put on the back burner is sleep. And he'd mentioned that, and that is just such an important part of your overall health. So yes, exercise, but also give yourself that downtime to unwind and to sleep. Yeah, my husband's analogy is, oh, I can sleep when I'm dead. And he's the guy that stays up till 1 in the morning and gets back up at 5 or 6. And that's not me. I can't do it.
Yeah, Colleen Farron from Trilogy has put together a whole talk on sleep. She's one of my speakers, and The function of sleep for our brain and what it does is incredible. I never had really thought about it before, but sleep isn't just for the body, it's really for the brain to like kind of reboot the whole system, clean the, you know, the neurosystem, and it does a lot. So if you want a very good talk on sleep, I can set it up.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Can I'm Mindy, I'm sorry, I joined a little bit late and I'm just listening to the past few minutes. One of the things that, I do meditation, I do yoga, I do a lot of different things, but something that Sabrina had mentioned is the Silva method, which if you haven't heard of it, is very, very helpful, very powerful. It's an education, it's a meditation. And one of the other things, based on everybody that is speaking, is about sleep and how much more powerful it is to how we all act during the day, all of the different messages that we get, how we can interpret it, how it can actually help us. Sleep is a really integral part. And when I hear people say they can function on, you know, less sleep and they're fine, I think about that, about all the benefits of sleep that they're not getting and they're not appreciating or recognizing, because sleep is just as important. The REM cycle is just as important as going out and walking or eating right or, you know, managing your stress. So there is a wonderful app, if you haven't heard of it, it's called Gaia, and whichever subject you want to look at, gives you a great education on those kinds of things. So just something I wanted to throw out.
You know, talking about stress, you know, we all have stress. Like Phillip said, stress comes in a lot of different forms. But, you know, my belief over the years is sometimes we got to let a little air out of the balloon in order to function. So, you know, everybody is different. For me, you know, I relieve my stress in a lot of ways, being outside, you know, doing yard work, or really cooking. You know, cooking is a good thing because you can focus, like Phillip said, on the health, you know, of cooking. And it's just one way to relax. Obviously, a drink, in the other hand, helps, can't hurt. But you know what, regardless of what everybody does, you know, for some of you, you may go shopping and may relieve stress. So regardless of how you do it, just let the air out of the balloon every once in a while. And my belief is you take a step back and smell that coffee, and your body, when it comes to sleep, it will tell you how much sleep you need. I'm not a believer in a lot of sleep, to be honest with you. But I think everybody has their own body, and you know what you need to really function on. I can't see myself sleeping 8 hours a day. I'd be sick, you know. But hey, everybody have a less stressful day is what I say.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. Does anybody have any? Oh, Pat, go ahead.
One of the things that our Joe Hamilton usually stresses when we do presentations together is a method of trying to balance the brain. And like when you're going into a stressful meeting, or you maybe with family members coming into a stressful time. And that is just breathing through each of the nostrils to send the oxygen to the two quadrants of the brain. And the way he shows people how to do that is to use your two fingers, one on each nostril, changing, and you breathe in through one, and you breathe out through the other. You breathe in through one, and you breathe out through the other. And then you do the reverse. And about 10 times, people usually find out that after they've done that, the stress level is more manageable because you've taken both, as I said, quadrants of the brain, and you've sent oxygen to each of those sections. And many people who have taken yoga have probably been introduced to that as well.
I do have one announcement, if it's all right, Jen.
Sure. Let people finish the question.
Yeah, does anybody have any other questions? And then we'll go to announcements if that's okay, April?
Oh, of course.
Any other questions or thoughts or comments or something to share? A smile?
Yeah. Well, I went to a largely plant-based diet probably 6 years ago, and the way I accomplished it really was instead of taking away a lot of things, I just added healthier things. And once those added healthier things became routine, the less healthy things kind of fell away. And of course, if you don't bring it into the house, I mean, cookies used to be a food group to me. I wish I could eat 4. I could probably eat 14. Once I stopped bringing them in the house, that really propelled my entree into like a healthier diet. But if you add instead of always subtract, it'll work better for you.
That's a good suggestion. You know, I think we always think, oh, okay, so I have to stop eating this and this. But if you're adding in different foods, eventually you want to not have certain things. But see, for those of us that have a spouse that is, I feel like I'm shopping with a little kid who's putting stuff in the cart and I'm going behind them and I'm taking it out.
Well,
go ahead, Philip.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Sherry said. And I think the important thing is, you know, that your focus was on not what you were taking away, but what you were adding. And I do believe that when you follow up some sort of negative with positive reinforcement, it really changes your perspective. And, you know, for example, if you're constantly hearing no or telling yourself no, it really can have an effect on your mindset. But if you're saying to yourself, I can't do this, but here's what I can do. You know, I may be limited in this area, but I do have the capacity for this, or I am capable of this. It really shifts your mindset from just functioning and merely surviving to really thriving and living. And so I thought that was really great. And that made me think of that. So thank you, Sherry.
Pleasure.
Thank you. I also want to encourage each of you, and I know Sabrina just did this. She just connected with me on LinkedIn. So if any of you are on LinkedIn, look on the screen before we all part and go our separate ways. You've heard what each person does, what their business is. And if you have a LinkedIn account and we're not already connected and you're not already connected, connect with the people that are here, because time will go by and then you'll say, well, what was that person's name? What did they do again? And this is a way to build our network while we're not in a networking meeting. So thank you, Sabrina. I got the invitation for that and I accepted that. So it has been a great and valuable resource for me. So I'm hoping that each of you find the value in it as well. Any other last questions about our presentation from Phillip Smith at Trustbridge? Yay, Phillip. Awesome. Very much appreciated. Does anybody, I know April had a community or a special announcement, so let's go ahead and do those.
Thank you so much. Sorry. So I just wanted to announce that we are having a job fair over at the hospital. And it'll be December the 1st. We are looking for full and part-time for licensed mental health or mental health technician positions, which do not have to have a degree other than a GED. So that'll be on the 1st. If anyone is interested in hearing more about that, I can send a digital copy of a flyer to anyone who would like. I put my information into the chat box. So thank you so much.
Oh, very nice. Thank you. Any other events, virtual events, or special announcements?
I do want to announce I am hiring internally right now at Optimum RTS. This is an entry-level position. I'd love to work with a recent college grad to teach them what recruiting is all about, work them into my company, and show a lot of advancement for that person. So if anyone knows anyone, please either have them call my cell phone or my email, both of which are in the text box.
Very nice. Thank you, John. All right. Any other announcements or anything else going on? No. All right. And then remember, we don't meet in December. So this would be our last meeting of the year, and we are actually in our 12th year. So yeah, it's amazing to think that this group has been evolving for all that time frame. So, and I appreciate all the support and everybody coming together, especially now with challenging times. I think it's so important to continue to network and also to see people's faces, right? Because there's some limitations for all of us, and especially in healthcare. As you can see, Brian is there with his mask on, right? So that seems the way that we all have been seeing each other. So, and then in between now and in January, when we have our meeting, you know, through your travels or conversations, invite other people to this meeting. They may be a good referral source for you. Maybe they're not a good referral source for you, but maybe they're a good referral source for somebody else in the group. And that's how we continue to build our network. So I always like to close with a quote. And I promise you, I did not look this up while we were talking. I can even show you that I looked it up last night at 9:24 p.m. Are you ready? You guys are going to be like, no way. Vegetables are a must on a diet. I suggest carrot cake, zucchini bread, and pumpkin pie. And that was from Jim Davis. I laughed so hard as we're all talking about diet and everything else. And then we're also talking about Thanksgiving. I couldn't have picked a better one, and I didn't even know until I did it last night. So I just thought that that was pretty funny. So with that, unless the chamber has anything else, we are gonna call it a day for the morning meeting, and wish you all the very best and happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe, you know, wash your hands, wear your mask, you know, the whole thing.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Everyone be well.
Good holidays.
Bye.
You stay well.
Take care.